Well, welcome everyone to this next edition of Like, Share, Follow. And this week I have the amazing Nathan Biddle, who is the social media producer for the Brisbane Broncos. But during COVID, you've also taken on another role, Nathan. What are you doing now?
Yeah, so at the moment, while I'm on hiatus from the Broncos, I'm working with the Department of Education and helping them front up a TV show which has been airing for about the last 7 weeks, and that's aimed for kids from prep to year 6. It's called Learning at Home. So I've been the man behind the camera and helping them coordinate their shoots. So it's a lot of fun, and it's very different from what I normally do.
Yeah, I bet. It sounds really interesting. And so, look, the last time I saw you was in around, I think it was about 2000, end of 2017. And we just at USC launched the Social Media Minor, which was 4 courses, which looked at a whole range of things from analytics to content production, strategy development, all sorts of things. And but so tell me about your journey from then until now.
Okay, so big journey, even though it's only been a couple of years. But in that last year, I was doing a couple of internships as well as working a full-time job. So I had 2 internships that were graphic design or marketing based, and that was with University of Sport and another private company that does SEO and things like that in Brisbane. And when I was finishing, I was also working for a snow shop, and I was doing as well as retail, helping them with their social media and graphic design. And that gave me a lot of experience, and I tried to push myself really hard to get as much experience as possible in my final year. And and then since then, graduated at the end of that year in 2017, and I did all the social media courses online. It was good for me because I lived in Brisbane and Coast in that same year. So it was really hard for me to get to uni. So doing all the online courses was great. And then I then applied for a job with the Brisbane Broncos, which is more of my most notable job in social, at the end of 2017. Went through the interview process. I think there was about 400 or so applicants for the job, which was a bit insane.
Wow.
And then it got nutted down to me, and then I ended up taking over the role. It was early 2018, so it was our pre-season, about like a week or 2 in our pre-season, which is about end of January, start of February. Was when I started with there, and I basically was with them ever since. And you're right.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say, and you were telling, before we went to air, you were telling me this story about, because we use in the social media courses at USC, a really big focus on using real and working with real clients. And so you were telling me that the shop you were working for in your final year, you use them as your client. And you just told me some of the results that actually achieved for them.
Yeah. So as well as it was a big thing for me, because while working there, I've never really, I've worked retail for like years before and during uni, so I never understood more of the background to the marketing, things like that, until I started studying. And I went, oh well, when you start, it's like that thing when you start to see what other people are doing, you don't get judgy, but you get like, oh, they could be doing this, or we could be doing it this way, and things like that. Yeah. And you never know what the reaction is going to be. And so while I was working with them and I was doing the social media course, I just approached them and just went, hey, I want to be able to do the social media for you, and I think it'll be a really good opportunity for me to learn, and then for you guys to reap the rewards from it. And once I actually got into understanding what their budgets were and things like that, they were using a lot of traditional media, and I said that they not even, it wasn't even a second guess. I said, you guys will be able to get a better result no matter what, and I can guarantee it. And went through the avenues with them. I showed them how I was doing it. So I was completely open books. I said, this is how we're going to spend the money. This is how we're going to do this. And by moving our marketing budget from traditional media, which was mainly radio, we ended up putting it into Facebook and Google ads. And I found the weird thing was at Christmas time, which was, usually everyone's most profitable time of year in retail, they were still it was probably their third less profitable, which I was like, wow. Even though it's a small sport, it should be up there because you should be doing sales and things like that. So we put it behind this sale, and the results were fantastic because within that month alone, they had a $50,000 increase in profit, which is just great because it's a small business, but it's a lot of money. If you understand snow sports, especially in the retail sector, it's a lot of money because of the gear is very expensive, very technical, and it's just a lot of money for a lot of people to outlay. So it's usually you're sitting on a lot of stock, and we said we can move this and we can do it online. If we show people, we just increase that bubble of rather going like, oh, this is our clientele in this small bubble. I'm like, well, let's go slightly outer, go to the people that are interested in these few things, just open up your demographics and understand who actually will be a person that's going to buy something off here. And yeah, we smashed it. Everyone's happy. And then ever since then, they haven't gone back. They're on social. They're posting all the time. I see them do it. I catch up with them every now and then. And it's usually it's still all small business, which is I still think fantastic. So it's still within the family, but it's still like a couple of other guys that are at uni. They're a great bunch of people. And that was at Snow Central out at Capera, and they used to have an Underwood store, but they've concentrated on their big flagship store. And yeah, it was fantastic. It was actually one of the things that helped me secure the job at the Broncos was that turn in profit, which was fantastic because I had the good thing is, especially the way we had the shop set up, I had it through WordPress as well as the stats coming through for Facebook, so we could actually show them. I was like, this is actually stats, and I was able to. I took that as a bit of a portfolio to the Broncos. I said, as well as my graphic design portfolio, I just went, oh, this is what I was able to do for a store. And with them interested of that because they have their own, the Broncos have their own team store where you can buy the merch and things like that, and having the ability to think outside the box for marketing campaigns. And because they were still early, like they're newer adopters to the social space. It's kind of it was really good. So they were able to utilize that.
And so I guess it's that results, isn't it? Like really, when you're going for roles, like people want to see what you achieved, what your impact has been, and so that was a really tangible example that you could include in that. So when you were doing the social media courses at USC, it wasn't as like you could create things for real clients, but now with a major, you can we have courses where students are live on their clients' channels and they can get those results. So then they can take them with them after uni to just sort of show and get jobs as well. So so it's amazing that they let you do that. I wanted to ask you, so you've been out working for a while now. So what has been one of the best pieces of advice that you've been given during your time out working in the field?
The best piece of advice is I found really hard because, say for example, the Broncos is kind of where more of my name of doing social media and kind of where I've narrowed my focus of my career. And I found that the best advice, especially for my career, is my current exec over there, Steel Talent. He's been a great mentor for me in the communication space. He used to work for the Brisbane Lions and before that the Courier Mail. So he's journalist originally by trade and then editor, and then now fronts up the comms team at the Broncos. And he's been doing a great job there and battening down the hatches for us there. And he basically got me out of the realm of understanding that I always had to be perfect. So I always went with the mentality of this post needs to be perfectly curated. The image has to be perfect. This has to be perfect. And then otherwise you get a bit of anxiety before you do the push. And because of the space we're in, you're always worried. And the Broncos following on Facebook, say for example, 650,000 there, or on Instagram, you got 260,000 or so. And when you're posting to that many people, sometimes you can get a bit of a worrisome feel, especially if it's something that they might not be as keen to see, or as we might go into if you have any more questions about today, or if you have a negative result. So we had to curate a lot of what we do depended on the result the week before. So your social media plan goes out the door. But basically he said, you can't worry about other people, and you never try to be perfect. you know that you're never going to please everyone. And yeah, it's just something I had to learn so quick. And once I did, everything got to be so much easier. So and you learn by doing. Make mistakes is it's like another perfect example of that. Is unless you like the algorithms and even sometimes your social media platforms change so much that you're never going to get it perfect. You never get it right. But then as long as you're open about that and go, okay, cool, that didn't work. Now let's trial this or let's do this. And you have to be open. And that's what kind of understanding or monitoring social is about is understanding what works and what doesn't, and then playing around with it. See what works for your audience. Just never try to be perfect on social, because you never will be. No, there's no person out there that's perfect.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think that I think that feeling of having to be perfect is a great excuse for not doing anything. You know, it's just put yourself out there and do it, and learn. That's how you learn. And I had a question, actually. One of my friends, I told him I was talking to you, and he wanted me to ask you, when you're doing content for and producing content for the Broncos, and no, I don't want to upset any Broncos fans, but how like it might be like much easier when they're going very well in a season. What happens when they're not going so well in a season? How do you keep that morale and that excitement up?
I can tell you right now, it's one of the hardest things ever. And that's why I thought it might be interesting. And that's why I wanted to come on and talk to you and talk to whether the students are watching this or where you're pushing that is. Social media for different, not just on different platforms, but for different purposes is going to be totally different. And we have a lot of people that follow us that are just purely football fanatic. They want to know football. That's all they worry about is the Broncos and the Broncos winning. When you have a stint, and I can even talk about the recent, even though I haven't been running it, but currently we haven't been doing so great in performance. And the only thing you can really do is I try to work off is good and positivity, and try to actually factor that in of how are people reacting to certain posts, what do they like and not like currently. So they might be really off a certain player, or they might be really off a certain aspect of what you're doing. It might not be best to try to show that, but highlight something else that you're doing well. So, and you have to really focus on those things that you're doing well, or how you're going to turn it around. Luckily, we have a small window of turning around. So at maximum 7 or 8 day turnaround. So if you've got, then that's between games. So if you've got that kind of turnaround, you go, okay, cool. Forget about the last game. Let's get onto this. This is what we're doing to improve it. You need to show them exactly what you're doing. If you don't show anything, or you don't show any work, people will then start to resent you more, and you'll lose followers, or you'll lose trust of your platform. And that's the worst thing, is once you start to lose trust of your platform, of people on your platform, or your community, basically, that could really negatively reflect your sales, whether it's your membership sales, your clothing sales, your sponsorship abilities, things like that. It's something that we've always been concerned about, and we always want to show what people want, which is you get behind closed doors of us working hard, and that's kind of what people want to see.
Yeah.
Results on the night are not done by us. We report them.
Yeah.
It's whether the outcome's good or bad. You ride with the highs, and when you get the lows, it's not the best. You just got to see it through. Go like next week. So
and so getting back to like when you say went for the job at the Broncos, and you had those amazing results, was there anything else you think that set you apart from other people going for that role?
I think so. The job itself was originally as multimedia designer. So I went in with my degree. I have a design and communication degree through Sunshine Coast, and it was graphic design was kind of my major. And then when I went through university, I was trying to figure out what's going to kind of be something that I want to focus on that'll be really helpful just in case I want to diversify my job, where a lot of other people started to go like, I want to pigeonhole it, like, which is fine if you want to actually go down a route that's purely design or purely comms, or you want to spread yourself apart. So I went down that route of looking at social media and advertising, and I thought that was really interesting. So when it came for a job for a multimedia designer, yeah, you need to know design, and that was good. That was my major. But then the fact that it was in a comms area, I have that ability to be like kind of that old saying of a jack of all trades. So when it came down to it, we need to do social media, running a live TV show, or we're sending out EDMs. So we need help with either building the EDMs or selecting the demographics, or the right going through that CRM, or trying to figure out one day you're going to be doing design. And even through there, like, I ended up doing a lot of camera work and videography work. So it was basically, the role was very, very diverse. And I think what set myself apart was I was that diverse person.
Yeah.
And I also had, even though I didn't have a massive, like I was only in uni the year before, but I had a massive track record of my work ethic. And I've been a person that I've always been very proud of my work ethic. Whenever I want to do something, I try to do it 110%. So I always want to go in and go, okay, I'm doing this internship as well as I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And and if you want to get there, you've got to put in the work. There's no easy way about it. And kind of when I went through that, I was still surprised when I got the job in the end. And then even then, the role changed dramatically in those 2-3 years I've been there. So
yeah. And so what's something that you learned at university that's been really helpful to you out working in the field?
The biggest thing I learned at uni, especially with what I do and kind of what I've been doing, is the nitty gritty of through monitoring and measurement, understand the nitty gritty of numbers. And that was kind of key for me, because you can go to a lot of places, and I've met a lot of people, funnily enough, that are in the social space, and that they're not really, or they haven't been right in there with the numbers. They're not understanding exactly what their analytics are providing, or what kind of analytics they need to provide back to report on, and things like that. So that was kind of a key thing that really helped me, especially for what I do in my career now, is understanding monitoring and measurement of social. But like, apart from that, it's what I really learned at uni, especially over my good couple of years, was to never, and when I first started, I had such an idea in my head what I wanted to do, and what I walked out with, and what I ended up, like, even before the year before, I wasn't interested in football. I wasn't interested in it at all. And funnily enough, and I think even the year before, like before I'd chosen social media, I was still kind of going, yeah, I'm going to go down the route of just fully just design. And I'm just going to kind of really narrow my focus, because I really want to be good. I want to stay. And there was guys in my in my uni course that were just really, they were amazing. And it was kind of like, with what you're competing with. And I did look to other people and like kind of go like, oh, they're doing that, or maybe I should do this. And it wasn't until afterwards I just went, no, I'm going to do social. And then a year later, I'm working for the biggest NRL club. I was just like, it's pretty good. It was pretty amazing. So yeah, it was, definitely the monitoring and measuring, never take it for granted. You need to understand the numbers. Otherwise, if you don't understand the numbers behind what you're doing or what you're reporting on, you're not going to actually have a proper focus for your community. You're not going to be able to put out the content that's going to reach what you want to reach. Like, you can't expect, a lot of people I've seen out there go like, oh, I'm just waiting for something to go viral. You don't do that. You can't just go like, oh, this is going to be viral. This isn't. No one knows the magic equation for something that's going to be viral. It's persistence and understanding of your community and providing what they want. In the, not just what platform, but then also what like how you communicate it and what you use to communicate it. And then also definitely at uni, don't worry about it if it's your first year and you're going down that path. And even if you are doing social media as like kind of your major now, or if you're trying to figure that out, what helped me as well was I went and did some journalism courses as well, and that really helped me understand as well how to communicate. I did some online journalism courses, like how you write online and things like that, and that really helped me to understand of different platforms, how to use it, how Twitter's used, you know, in like how to understand how to talk online, and those colloquial ways of talking, and you know, blog writing, things like that, which they all are just little tools that you can just little courses that are just really helpful to add to
writing and analytics, like, I mean, that you need writing, analytics, and design, like, what are the trio? I mean, it's perfect social media for social media.
Well, it's perfect now. A couple of years ago, if you think about it, content creators or content producers, it wasn't technically a job. And I was thinking about this yesterday, but I was like, I might bring this up with Karen, but it's like essentially being a content creator or a content producer or whatever this job is now, it wasn't really a job. If you were in social media space, it was more of like you were in the marketing team and you just pushed online, which was fine. Or if they might have had some other comms person doing that, can go from start to finish and execute a full social media, so you can understand social media plan, how to write, how to do the content, creating the content, designing it, whether it's video or graphic, and then pushing it out to what channels, doing all the reporting back. If you can do all that, you're doing a social media manager's role. So totally. You can cover all bases, and then all you got to do is understand your target audience. So that's different wherever you go. So whether it's you're working in the sports realm, or whether you're working in retail realm, online space for certain agencies, like
totally. And so what didn't you learn at university that you needed once you got out in the field, and you wish you had learned?
I'd probably say I wish knowing what I'm doing now, I wish I kind of did a major. I wish I did it more down that realm, because there was only those couple of courses available back then. And I'm glad. Hey, don't get me wrong, I'm glad of what I did, and I wouldn't be where I am with that kind of stuff. But because over years I've focused more and more down to the social media aspect rather than the design aspect, I think understanding that a bit more, and the difference is as well, compared to what you would have been teaching a couple of years ago compared to what you're teaching now, would have changed anyway. Like, not even just the courses, but or the content, because our content changes rapidly in comparison to some other courses. So it's staying up to date with all that kind of stuff. And I think if I majored in it, and if I understood properly what I wanted to do, I would have been that's kind of where the skills of what I need lies. But in saying that, though, it is a lot about doing. You just jump in and do it. You go online and you research, and you find, or you're able to figure out how to do things online very easily nowadays. So if you ever have any questions on how to do social media, there's some great examples out there. But how to do it properly and things like that, I kind of wish I went through and did a major, and then probably split it up and did the journo as well. Try to go down that path of understanding that space a bit more. But it's how I go.
We have a degree now. We've got a Bachelor of Communication, Social Media, and then the major, and then the minor. So
no, I think I have to go back to uni.
It's all happening. And I wanted to ask, what's been your favorite sort of social media tool or bit of information that you've discovered in the last couple of weeks?
Ooh.
Just to throw that at you.
Oh, it's hard for me at the moment because I haven't been in the space.
Of course.
But I'd say, if it not even just a tool, it could be a tool actually. There's two things. With COVID, we kind of figured out how we're constantly learning. Like, we're in a space, especially at the Broncos, where our team, the team's original focus was basically disrupted because of COVID. What we did before had to change overnight, where you went from doing behind the scenes with the players, being close up and personal, and that's what people wanted. We then had the issue of we weren't allowed to be there. We weren't allowed to show it. And that's what people followed us for. When we did, because every year we always go back to people and go like, oh, so what did you think of this year? How can we change? How can we do things better? We're always trying to learn. And they went, we want more behind the scenes. We want all this and that. And we're just like, yeah, no, we can't do this anymore. This is hard. so what we thought people wanted, we were like straight away, we just went, oh, we're not going to be able to achieve it. We're going to have so many people drop off. Facebook's got to increase to 40%. We can't ride that wave. So like, we were really worried about losing so much. But then what we realized pretty quick, just even through some just brainstorming and trial and error, we actually came up with a content plan, brand new content plan. So it was like basically in 24 hours, we had to come up with a new content plan. It had to meet sponsorship requirements. It had to meet heaps of other little things. And we just flipped it and we just went, yep, well, this is realistic. We can do this from home. We could do that. And I only worked with them for the 2 weeks during this, when the shutdown started to happen and we were working from home. And then after that 2 weeks, that's when I picked up this contract job. So, but basically in that time, we came up with a full new content plan and we just had to utilize what we could do at home, which, you get creative. You can repurpose some stuff and you can get really creative. Now it's started to like Zoom was great. And we were able to jump on the back of doing Zoom conferences and things like with the players, and basically because normally you have during the week at training sessions, journalists will come down and try to do interviews with players. They can't do that anymore. So what we do is we hold them back up in a meeting room and put them on Zoom and then invite all the journalists in and they do that. Then we record that session and then play that back to our fans and things like that. So we just had to find what worked in that space for that time, and we just had to run with it. But then also there was a tool, and I forget the name of it, which we started to implement at the start of the season, which was a coronavirus tool. It was a free tool developed over in the US, which you could actually implement onto your website, and it had questions you could actually put in, kind of like a chatbot in a way. And it was specifically for coronavirus questions. So how does this impact our business? So with tickets, what's happening with memberships? When's next game? When can we see the players? When are training times on, all that kind of stuff. So it was a free tool that was generated by this guy over in the US. I forget his name and I forget the name of it, which it's terrible because it was fantastic. And Formula One introduced it on their platforms. That's where I saw it, on their platforms. And it was great that you could just implement that completely for free, no charge at all. He was just making it so everyone could get information out to their community as soon as possible. And it was a very easy thing to navigate, very easy UI. And if I find it, I'll have to send it to you. But it was
the link in
I'll have to drop it in. But it was a fantastic tool, just because I think I've always been a firm believer that social media is the best as well as the worst thing that probably ever happened to the world, because it's brought us together, but then also created so many divisive problems and people using the platforms incorrectly or, for their own personal gains and things like that. So I think it's a fantastic thing to see that it was at the start of all this COVID stuff was happening, at the height of it, that this person put in the effort, created their own chatbot platform and gave it out for free. So it allowed people to communicate to people straight away, because he could have easily charged for that and people could have easily paid. But put it out for free. And I think that's a great thing to see in this time. A lot of people are being compassionate. A lot of businesses go, oh, we can't generate certain profits, but we can go out and do these things and we'll help people. And they're putting across social, which is great to see.
I love that. And like one of the things I believe the most, it's a name of a chapter in my book. It's in relation to social media, and it says, stop selling and start helping. And so
that's great.
And building that trust with people and your credibility by giving rather than just trying to sell to them all the time. So I'm
a massive believer of that.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you too. So talking to, say, emerging professionals or current students, what advice would you give them to succeed professionally in this sort of area?
Big thing, never stop learning. It's always changing. Always, I think a really good way is learn off other people. I found through Brisbane, and we've kind of made our own little people that I've met up with. But basically, I try to get into as many realms as possible, understanding people who work in the social domain. COVID was really great for that. I used at the start of it while I was stuck at home. I'm going to communicate with people that are influential, if I find influential in the area, and just learn off them. They're stuck at home. What are they doing? So I messaged a lot of big name designers and social content or digital managers and things like that from sports realm, from other realms, and I was talking to them, and I just wanted to learn off them. So, and I've always been a person that's like that. I just wanted to get out there, do it the best as possible, and like, what's the worst thing they're going to happen? They're not going to answer. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
So yeah. So I messaged, and funnily enough, I got a lot of replies back, which is great. So and there are a lot of people that I already were following on LinkedIn and things like that. So the idea was social's always changing. Everyone has different ideas on how to do it. So rather than being divisive and doing things your own way, which is not a bad thing if it's working well for you, but you've got to remember, you might not be doing it forever, or tomorrow it might change. So learn as much as possible, and especially in the sports realm, I've made friends with a lot of other people in different codes of sport, because say for example, I've had chats with the guys from the Melbourne Storm in the other NRL team, and what works for them in Melbourne doesn't work for us in Queensland, and what works for us in Queensland doesn't work for them. So of how they can operate, we swap ideas and things like that. So NRL clubs, yes, we are always fighting each other week on week of on the field and things like that. But funnily enough, behind the snes, we're all talking to each other and sharing ideas of how to do certain things, and giving everyone pats on the back for doing a good job, because the whole thing is you work off each other, and you learn so many new things from just speaking to people in the industry. So if you can ever go to any conferences where they're free, or even if they cost money, they're tax deductible. You're doing it for uni, so you can definitely write it off. So go to conferences, meet heaps of people, talk to as many people as possible, message them. Like it's easy as on LinkedIn, because if you message 100 people, even if like 10 reply, that's 10 really good insights that you might get.
It's worth the effort. And so now to move on from that, so the most important question of this whole show is who do you like, share, and follow?
So I like, share, and follow. Mine's probably different to a lot of people from compared to regular answers, because it's more of a sporting thing, because I really like what a couple of professional sporting teams do, and they're really good to follow if you're really interested in social media. So a big one for me, Scott Kegley. He's the lead digital at the Minnesota Vikings NFL team. He turned his team's digital space around dramatically, from a team that like they're still like massive. They're bigger than NRL because it's NFL, but he turned their digital around to actually be generating so many better options for their sponsors as well as for the fans, and he did it in an appealing way as well. So their Instagram timeline as well as their graphics and things like that have been done fantastic. They're just amazing. So it's definitely visually appealing, but as well as behind the scenes, they're doing a lot, and how they actually publish on there. So so Scott Kegley, he always posts on LinkedIn of what they're up to, but then also go and suss out the Minnesota Vikings team. They're great. Ryan Holmes from Hootsuite, he's up there at Hootsuite. I've been a big advocate for Hootsuite because it's just such a diverse platform. I've used it for quite some time. I think ever since uni. I did it for you guys. Yeah, so through the certification. So then ever since then, I took it from job to job, and then I ended up using it through the Broncos. So, but Ryan Holmes, he pushes some really interesting insights out on LinkedIn, which is fantastic to look into, especially what's going on in the world regards social. And then also just with his Hootsuite background, you can kind of implement it if you're using the platform. And Hanley, she's a great. I really rate her. She's a great keynote speaker, ex-marketing, or kind of still does a lot of marketing, but just social space. She's just really insightful of just how to communicate properly to your audience, which I think is a really big thing and a lot of people miss. And you can definitely go out there and see those social pages that you might follow, and you know when people are hitting it right and when they're hitting it wrong. So how they do it. But yeah, she's really good. She's done a few keynote speaking and stuff like that. So it's she's got some interesting stuff. And then also I'd say lastly, Sean Callanan. he's great. So he's Sports Geek. He's got a brand called Sports Geek. He's a marketing guru that travels the world, talks to a lot of sporting teams about how they do their marketing and comms. He has a podcast, which is fantastic. Definitely worth a check out, as well as I think he just got into the space, or he's been in the space for a while, but he's got into this esports space. So if anyone wants to understand social comms with esports, so it's a lot bigger at the moment. The tractions, it's been gaining a lot of traction recently, especially since COVID, and it was one of the only sports to continue on because of isolation. It's easy. So he's really, really insightful, and he's definitely worth a suss out. And lastly, I'd probably say one of my mentors for both design and social would be Ryan Bowles. He lives on the Gold Coast. We've known each other for years, but he used to be in the design space, and that's where I knew him from. And then funnily enough, similar time that I transitioned into social, he went into social, and he's an expert at Facebook, especially Facebook groups, understanding how to talk to your audience, monetizing off that. So he's really insightful in that area, and he's helped me a lot with understanding. But it's just go out there and I find a lot of people just by looking through their timeline, seeing what they're doing. Personally, my timeline's terrible. Don't look at it. I through the Broncos, we work about 7 days a week, and some days, especially game days or pre-game days, we're working 8 in the morning all the way through to 1 o'clock the next day, 1 o'clock in the morning. So that's the other thing to understand. If you want to get into sports social, understand you're going to work a lot of hours, and you're traveling a lot, jet lag, just constantly flying in and out. So that's who I share and follow.
It's like tradesmen, they're the last ones to fix their own house. So I guess it's a bit the same with.
I can definitely vouch for that. I'm trying to get better. It's just mainly cute pictures of my son. Just try. Bonds, hit me up. I'm keen to get him as a Bonds baby. He's very cute. But no, I'm quite terrible on my own pages. But definitely those people I was just talking about is definitely worth. Minnesota Vikings. Check out their stuff. It's really cool. It's fantastic.
Okay, and so this sort of brings us to the end of our session today. But do you have any final words to inspire emerging social media professionals at the end of our interview?
Ooh, I'd say just get out there and just do as much as you can, take as many opportunities as you can. A lot of my opportunities that I found was I talked to people, and then when I got the offer, I took it. So it's not really an ask questions thing. I'd just say take any opportunity. And the best thing about it is, even if you only do it for a short amount of time, or you do it once or twice for someone, remember that all goes towards your next job or learning for the next thing, or where you can grow, because you never know who knows who, how you can network with people properly, and then also all those skills that you learn would be just great. So don't sit back at uni at the old classic P's get degrees. They do, but P's also won't get you those jobs in the end that you want. If you're at uni, you're out there to get a career.
Trust me, and I've seen that through what I've been teaching for a long time now, and it's those students who do the extra work and go the extra mile, who they shine at university, and then they're usually snapped up before they even leave university, and they just finish their degree in these amazing roles. And so you need to put in that extra effort. So totally agree with you. We've had a question from Tracy Churchill, and she has asked if you can put a list of the people that you follow on the LinkedIn post where this video will be. Will you be able to?
Sure.
That would be
definitely.
Really great. And we also have Julian has said, well done to you, Julian.
All your comments.
And Shona was in that first year of the minor as well, and she can congratulations.
Yeah.
You. So thank you. And
I remember, when we did that, that was great.
Yeah. So that's it for this week. So thank you so much, Nathan. That was really great information, telling us about your journey and great sort of knowledge bombs to share with emerging social media professionals and current ones too. And so next week we're going to be on a little bit later, because we'll be streaming live from I will be on the Sunshine Coast, but I'll be chatting to Shelby McQueen, who's in London, and she is now the media manager at Full Comms. And so she's also had an amazing journey from University of the Sunshine Coast, living large in London now, looking after social media and digital comms over there. So, so I will promote when that will be, and I will see you next week. So thank you again, Nathan.
No worries. Thank you.
Thanks.